Choke Point. This is Chance Davis, and I have Josh McCain, president and co-founder of Big Sky Bravery. Glad to have you on.
Thanks, Chance. Glad to be on, buddy.
So for the audience, the ones that don't know about Big Sky Bravery, can you kind of give a brief background of what you guys are and what you guys do?
Sure, yeah. So we're a registered 501c3 nonprofit here in Bozeman, Montana, and we started to look around the past year and a half to see, kind of what needs aren't being met for guys in the armed forces. And our research kind of came back with there's about 57,000 plus nonprofits for wounded veterans, either physically or mentally. And that was kind of our initial focus. And then I've had a brother-in-law who's been in special operations since 2001, Army Ranger. And I reached out to him and I was just like, what can I help out with? It seems like there's nothing for you guys. And he confirmed that there is nothing for active soft. So we started to interview a bunch of guys in JSOC, and we came up with programs for them, by them, post-combat deployment here in Montana that utilize recreational activities to keep their adrenaline going, and then provide an environment for them to recharge towards the end of it.
That is awesome. And I feel like there's such a need for that. I remember coming back from deployments, and for the guys that aren't married, you get 2 weeks and you don't really know what to do with it. So having a program set up like that where you can do those adventurous sports, I feel like it's hard to find that stateside, that same adrenaline, and that can be a big change in itself, going from that high stimulus to almost none. So how long have you guys been around?
Well, I came up with the idea around February of last year. My wife and I actually got jobs in New York City, of all places, and my career path was on point, and everything was just going great. But there was kind of a desire in my life that I've never served, and not even comparing this even 1% serving in the armed forces like you guys did. But I wanted to give back, and I wanted to come up with a mission that would have an impact on America. And the American definition of heroes, in my opinion, is special operations. So about February, I started to kind of look around, see what I needed to do to become a tax-exempt organization. And, about 1,000 pieces of paperwork later, and partnering with this lawyer here in Bozeman from Cromwell Law, we got all of our paperwork submitted and actually launched public in September of last year. So we've been going for a few months now. We're coming up on a year, so we've been trying hard.
That's awesome. So what's been your best experience since starting?
The best experience has to be just getting the trust of some of these units that took months and months of clearance that I had to go through, background checks. If it wasn't for my brother-in-law, I don't know how I could have been able to start this process. He vetted his reputation for me. He's an E8 right now, so he's got a pretty good foundation to stand on. And when those first guys got off the plane in March, it changed my life. It's kind of when vision becomes reality. And we had 3 of them come out. We try to pool for E6 to above, guys who have had multiple combat deployments, guys who are just completely burnt out. And when they got off that plane, you saw them walk out. It was just, it's like, all right, here we go. Make sure we have the best impact for them. And, that completely changed my outlook on what we're doing when I saw them that day.
That's awesome. So, through that process, what was kind of like your motivating factor, like when all the paperwork started to pile up and as
Sure.
you're in that business process?
The motivating aspect of it was, I had mentioned earlier, my brother-in-law, he's been in SOF now since 2001, and he hasn't had a break since then. All of his teammates haven't had a break since then. And, I saw him come home, and he's always just been a phenomenal father, phenomenal husband, phenomenal, ranger. And I could just tell he was getting tired. And, how could you not? You guys are trained Ferraris over there. The cream of the crop, everything that goes into making you the best. But when you come home, like you mentioned earlier, I just don't feel like you guys have anything. I think the government's just like, all right, here's 2 weeks off, have fun. And it's like putting a Ferrari in downtown New York City and expecting you guys to drive it there. I don't see how that could be possible. And when we started to reach out to their friends and stuff like that, active guys in JSOC, whether they're in other units that we really don't want to discuss, they just needed a break, man. I mean, these guys have given everything for our country, given everything for their families, given everything for their teammates, and it was just when pen hit paper, I knew there's no turning back. And now we have 51 guys on our waiting list that need our program. So I mean, it's just a motivating factor to work 7 days, 24 hours a day if possible, to make sure that these guys are taken care of.
That is awesome. Oh, so for the audience, how can they get in touch with you, or how can people support you or donate to you? Do you have social media or?
Yeah. So we've got a Facebook page. You can search us by just typing in Big Sky Bravery. Our website's www.bigskybravery.org. We have some pretty good information on there. We have our first program testimonial where some of the guys that we brought out we were able to interview them, ask them some questions, and get their feedback on kind of what they've done for our country and what the program's meant to them. And after you watch that 4.5-minute video, I think you'll have a pretty good idea of kind of what our winter program looks like. As far as our summer one, we're still editing that one right now to launch it to the public.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for coming on, and I'll post all your information on the website so people can get in touch with you.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, one of the things I asked is that, me being a civilian, I've never served a day in my life, but I would ask the public, whoever, watches this or listens to it, if they're not in the armed forces and they're a civilian like me, research special operations. And, I think we need to stand up and give back to these men who never asked for anything. It's to the point now where, from all the guys that we brought out, I mean, will never go into mission specific things, obviously. But they will kind of tell you that the entire safety and, just overall structure there relies on them. You have coalition forces, whatever. Those guys are still kicking doors in. They're still responsible for all of us to be able to enjoy Montana or whatever we want. And it's time as civilians we get off our ass, research what these men do for us, and get involved, ask questions, figure out what you can do to support the nation's elite.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. All right. Well, thank you again, and we'll post all your info so people can get in touch with you.
You got it, man. I appreciate you guys having us on, and keep up the hard work at Choke Point, man.
Will do.
All right. Take care.